So let's just take a moment to sink into the room. If you just kind of let your attention rise up to the forehead, you'll find that your eyes sort of soften so that they can take in the whole room at once. And what this does is it takes you out of the hard focus frame of mind, where you're separating this from that, and allows you to just look at the whole thing at once. And with your attention up at the forehead and crown, you can do that with your eyes, but you can also do that with your hearing. You can do that with your feeling. You can do that with your entire life story. You can do that with your place in the universe. It's a shift in context to the one big thing. But start with your eyes. Just let them relax. Attention at the forehead and crown. And just let every aspect of the room be present all at once, without hard focusing on any one thing.
Kurwa nasz.
And let that spread to your hearing. Just let the sounds of your world all be present at once. From the loudest of the loud to the subtlest of the subtle. I want you to practice that while I talk. When everything is allowed to be completely present all at once, it all gets to sit in its proper context. In other words, you relinquish your ability to manipulate the context. When you're not looking like this, you're hard focusing on different things, magnifying different things, deciding what to make big and what to make small, developing stories, building cases for and against, weaving the web that you've been caught in your entire life. Guys, I'm very sorry. Give me 1 second. I just have to alert my husband to something important. Sorry, I have a friend in trouble. When you let everything take up It's actual space without manipulating the context. You free yourself from what you've been trapped in. I trick you into that every week. And it's why you come here. It's why you feel better later on. But most of you have been coming long enough that you should be able to do that for yourself. Right? At some point, you need to own your own spiritual life. You need to be the one with the whip. You need to be the one that decides where you want to go. So attention at the forehead and crown. Step out of the manipulated context and into what exists on its own. We call that reality. It's okay, Joanna. I sent a text to my husband. He'll deal with it. And I'll call him afterwards. You know, for a long time in spiritual life, the stories of your life, the world around you, looks like unreality, and then reality is sort of the nothing space. And I think there are times where that's helpful, and there are times where you have to actually acknowledge that the presence of the stories is not antithetical to reality at all. And the reason that it's not antithetical to reality at all is because the only thing that is really shifting is you've stopped manipulating the context. So everything just exists as it is. It flows in its own system, and you're not manipulating that system. Instead, you're discovering your place within that system. And so reality and the dream of life, they actually intersect. You know, as you come to realize that, that's actually where miracles begin to happen. That's where some of the things that you think of as hard and fast rules of life start to lift. And if you're doing it right, they don't lift often. They lift in moments of need. They lift in moments where it's just natural and part of the larger context for them to lift. And in those moments, time and space is transcended. And you do things that if you told someone you did them, they probably wouldn't believe you. Now, alternatively, some people, when they get to that point, because they've learned how a lot of that works, they start playing around with it, and they start doing it in ways that is just more manipulation. It's good for one lifetime, you know. If you start manipulating in that way, you'll be able to do some amazing, not useful, but amazing things in that lifetime. But you won't have learned the lesson necessary to really own that space. And usually that manipulation causes a lot of problems. We all go through that a little bit, when it first happens, especially if you come to the path young like I did. You start, sometimes it's even just for healing purposes, but there's a reason people have those conditions, and there are consequences to calling down a hailstorm just to get out of something you don't want to do. You learn very quickly that it's not the right way to move about life. And you go back to just letting things happen very naturally, and only when the moment calls for it. But again, that is a life where you don't manipulate the context, where you're not constantly hard focusing on a set of things and making them bigger than everything else. Humans are powerful. Your attention directs power. You want to actually join the larger context than have a bunch of individual minds throwing everything into chaos, which is a pretty good description of the world, especially this year. I remember back in the days when the internet was a new thing. I'm that old. I remember starting a website, and I had friends who started websites, and they really didn't want to share anybody else's links. Other people would approach you and say, hey, can I be on your links page? And back then you'd have like a separate links page where you kind of connect to other people's websites. And so the people who were very individually focused didn't want to do that. But what everybody would always say, if they knew what they were talking about, was no, it's a web. You need to do that. You connect with them. Other people then see you as a resource, and other people connect back to you. Some of them will connect just to your links page. And because you're willing to actually enter this broader context, rather than needing to manipulate at an individual level, you just acknowledge that you have a place within something bigger. Lines of power can flow back and forth through your website. It's the same in life. Whenever you're manipulating context, even in areas where you don't realize you're doing it, you're doing it to serve yourself as a separated individual. And I would challenge you this week to really watch yourself. I guarantee you do it in a million different ways. It's there in how you brush your teeth or make your coffee. It permeates everything. These little ways where everything has to be a certain way. Certain things are important and certain things aren't. And you just manipulate your life into being. It's the reason your life feels so different from everybody else's life, and it's the reason your life feels the same day after day after day. But all of those manipulations drain you, some more than others, but they all drain you. And the reason they drain you is because they don't connect you to the larger context, which is also a web. That larger context, when you connect to it, you are filled back up. And the reason you're filled back up is because that flow is reestablished. And you can feel that at the end of any one of these classes. Something that was wrong is rightened in you. I'm not sure that's a word. But something is put right. And you may not have lots of physical energy, but you've got an energy that fills you up in a very comforting way, helps you sleep at night, brings you mental clarity. And what you'll notice if you really practice this is that it aligns what comes to you in life. You'll find that different things that you need start showing up in your life. Things get unblocked. And it's because by not manipulating the context to make all roads flow back to you, or all roads flow back to your family or chosen people, by just letting go of all of that, you've entered the World Wide Web. And everything is flowing as it should. If there's something you have that is needed, that person who needs it will show up and it'll flow right out of you in a way that actually, as it's going out, you can feel something else coming in. I used to be amazed as a massage therapist. I was a massage therapist for 15 years. I could be completely drained and completely exhausted and heading to somebody's house and lugging a heavy table. And I would just think, my God, I have no idea where the energy for this is going to come from. Massage is hard work. I don't recommend it. But I would always be so surprised that by the end of it, I wasn't tired. I was energized. And the reason I was energized was because in order to do my work, I had to kind of let go and flow out. And in flowing out, everything can come back through and in. So that's a lot of talk. To just take you a step deeper into what we do here every week. We stop manipulating context and we just make ourselves open and available to the larger web of life. We connect to it through our senses, but we don't hard focus any one sense. Because when you hard focus, you're taking all that openness and you're putting boundaries on it. Instead, we just throw ourselves open. And we let life show us our place. Are there any questions about that? So let's go into meditation and let's just kind of let that steep into our meditative practice. Okay. It's not a problem with focus. Focus isn't the problem. You'll notice when you focus on your breath in meditation, what it actually does is get that manipulative part of you out of the way so that the silence can start to open in you. we're talking about something different. We're talking about that part of you that needs everything to be a certain way. And so you start kind of manipulating the components of the story, adding and subtracting meaning from things. Very different than just focusing on your breath. Just to clarify. Okay, guys. Attention at the forehead and crown. Let your senses just open up into the room around you. See it all at once. Hear it all at once. Feel it all at once. One of my teachers in India used to talk about it like being a cork floating on the sea. Just completely given. It seems like the sea is deciding where the cork goes, but really there's nowhere to go. So there's nothing to relinquish. I can tell something really resonated with some of you because I can feel the power increase in you. And I can feel it because you're part of the context of this moment. Attention at the forehead and crown. Just let go. Just let it all connect back up. I wonder if you can notice how everything you're trying to feel by manipulating the context of things is granted to you when you stop manipulating. A youthful, vibrant energy returns. Youthful and vibrant, yet patient and wise. Notice the parts of your body that you are holding in reserve and make them available to the web. Relinquish your rules and stipulations. Your likes, your dislikes. You're holding them to try and keep from losing something, but they're the reason you're losing. Let them go and let the flow reestablish in that space. If you can do this completely, you can experience everything. You may not understand what you're experiencing, but you'll come to know it. Those two things are different. To understand, you whittle it down into your system of manipulated contexts. To know it is more like knowing a river by entering it and understanding how it moves, how its currents feel on your body, and what makes them change. Different. Better. Okay, guys. I feel like I need to go call my friend. This week, I want you to work with this. Okay, this teaching will post on the website, and I want you to actually connect back up to that web without any manipulation, without any hard focus, without any intent. Just let everything flow. I feel like all of you took a bit of a step forward tonight. I can feel it in the energy. Everything kind of rose to a different octave. You need to keep that going, all right? Really make it yours. It's not something I give you. It's something that you receive. And it doesn't come from me. It just came through me tonight. But it's yours. You have to work with it, or it'll just get buried and it'll be something that pops up in another lifetime. Okay, a seed is planted. You need to water it. But I'm going to head out. I will be here next Thursday, and I hope you all have a good week. Bye.
Thank you, Liam.
Thank you, Liam.
Thanks.